don't forget. All right, awesome. I am excited. I'm early. I know. I love to be early because I'm just so excited to share it with you guys and give you the key codes for day 2 of our crystalline architect. I would love to know how you're doing. How did yesterday go for you? And are you starting to get some ideas of how you can begin to be your own architect and build your own crystalline pillars to support you in the now moment and the future moments in every single area of your ascension journey? When you hop on, say hello. If you're watching the replay, say hello. I would love to know that you're here. We had some really great comments and questions from yesterday. So I want to recap really quickly for everyone. Yesterday, in the day 1, pillar 1 of our crystalline architect, we talked about the crystalline consciousness of Christ, the ascended master version of Christ. And so, really, what I kind of want to recap on that and really just anchor in for you is to understand that when we start connecting to this first pillar in the crystalline consciousness of Christ, we really are just basically, in the simplest terms, connecting to living and experiencing life from our heart center, from that place of love, acceptance, understanding, and connection to all people, all things in this world, this lifetime, and other, of course, dimensions and realities. So, if you have questions about that or want to go deeper into that first pillar, we can absolutely do so. Please just feel free to reach out. I would love to help support you in building your own crystalline architect and designing your pillars that are going to support you individually on your own ascension journey, personal growth, spiritual growth, evolution of life and soul, and your experience and your reality. So I want to just dive right in because I am excited to connect with you on this second pillar. And it is pillar number 2 inside of the 3 pillars that create my crystalline architect, my crystalline grid to support me, hold me, and guide me through each and every twist and turn and bend and curve I experience inside of my individual life, my reality, my soul connection, my spiritual journey, and just all of it all intertwined together. So, this pillar is the compassion key codes, and it really is a catalyst for change. And the reason I say that, I'm going to dive right in and just give you the reason why it is such a catalyst for change and how compassion can actually be used to empower us versus disempower us. When we are living and operating our lives from a state of compassion, we are essentially allowing ourselves to raise and experience the frequency of understanding, of grace, of gratitude in this space of bliss, in this reality of higher dimensional experiences that we want to experience in this lifetime. So, we're going to dive in to what compassion is and where it is held for you currently, and how you can begin to code your reality, your life, and your spiritual experience with so much compassion for yourself and others. So I want to just mention quickly, if you're aware of the vibrational frequency scales, compassion is right up there with love, oneness, acceptance, understanding. So when we can invoke and surround ourselves with the frequency of compassion, we are aligning more to the lifestyle and the experiences that we want to have that are full of that bliss, joy, happiness, and understanding versus the ones that are rooted in that pain and suffering and not knowing quite how to move through life because we feel stuck. So compassion for self is incredibly important, first and foremost, because if we're going to practice compassion for others, we must be able to truly experience it and express it for ourselves. I want to talk about what that means and how you can begin to have compassion for ourselves. We are beautiful souls living both a human experience and a spiritual experience. And it is a lot. It can be a lot of times. So, what I want us to do is reel it back in and really anchor ourselves in the fullness, and the full understanding that we need to have compassion for ourselves as we are doing the best we can, that we are both a human having a human experience and a soul having a very spiritual experience. So for myself, what does that mean? As I was putting this together, so many different areas of my life and how I've really instilled this pillar inside of my crystalline architect have just arisen for me inside of how do I want to share this with you? What examples do I want to use? And first and foremost, I think I really want to talk about my story of compassion through working around healing and the healing process of wounded aspects. We all have wounded aspects. I have been working on myself in my healing journey for about 15 years, and I still can very truly and honestly say there are wounded aspects that I have and that I know each and every individual has. So when we can accept that we all have wounded aspects, we can begin to start working through them. And as we're working through these wounded aspects, this is how we can support ourselves when something triggers us. So that when these wounds come to the surface and the triggers start happening, when we bring in our pillars, especially the pillar of compassion, these wounds begin to affect us less and less and less. They have less potency, less effect, less triggering aspects because we know who we are and we have these pillars set up and gridded through our lives so deeply that each time a wounded aspect comes up, we meet it with compassion. So, what does that mean for me? I'm going to share an example with you right here, right now. I don't share a lot about my personal life, but I want that to start changing so that you get to know I'm just as human as you are. It may look on social media that these girls, these women, these men have it all figured out and they're just living these blissful, abundant lives. And though that may be 80% true, there is a big percentage that they're still working through a lot of things that are unseen. So instead of comparing our lives, we need to have compassion for our lives and understand we truly don't know what each other is going through unless we're in that intimate setting with them. So for myself, so that you have a deep, intimate connection with me and understanding how I move through my wounded aspects that come up, that arise for me, that I work on healing, is through the power of compassion. So for myself, two of my very triggering wounded aspects is when I feel unsafe and insecure, like unsecured inside of my living environment or my finances or my relationships, wherever it's not stable, right? I love stability. Maybe that's part of me being a Taurus. Maybe that's part of my upbringing and my programming as a child, not knowing, what was stable, what was safe, what was not. And maybe it's me over controlling my reality so that nothing becomes unstable or unsafe. So for myself, my wounded aspects that have been arising lately is the feeling of unsafe, unstable as I move into a different level of my own personal growth and evolution journey. And I don't quite know what this looks like yet, right? Yes, I can know aspects of it. Yes, I'm intuitive and I can tune in. But the universe, God, source, creator, still keeps a lot of mystery behind what we experience in life so that we're not overthinking, overguessing, and jumping to conclusion. We get to lean back and be very present in the current moment, in the current reality, so that we can experience it from our human selves, our human aspects. And as we do this, there's wounds that arise because they've been false evidence appearing real. I call them false light templates. So when these false light templates pop up, we need to realize, okay, how do I want to work through this? I don't know what my future holds. I know that I'm reaching a new level. I know that I'm growing and expanding and it's uncomfortable. How do I want to move through this? Do I want to sit still, sit stuck, and say, oh my gosh, why is all of this always happening to me? Or do I want to move through it with that grace, that confidence and compassion and say, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know the outcome, but I do know that other false evidence appearing real and other true evidence appearing real is that I am supported. And no matter what, no matter where I'm going, no matter how unsafe I feel, no matter on how secure and unstable I feel in this moment, this is not my end goal. This is not my end reality. I'm growing I'm going and growing through this. And so I choose to meet myself with compassion in that moment. And when I meet myself with compassion, I come back in and I say, how can I support you in this moment? What do you need? Do you need somatic support? Do you need energetic healing support? Do you need to talk it through? What do you need for me to hold you in such deep compassion for you to move through this so you are not victimized by this stage in your life, so that you are not stuck in taking steps back, retracting from this growth, so that you're moving through this without the resistance and leaning into that compassion for self. So for myself, feeling unsafe, unsecure, and unstable is always met with compassion now, because it is my crystalline pillar. It is my second pillar that I've deeply instilled in my life. Another example, there's so many that I can share with you, but I just want to relate it from both personal and business, right? Because we're all here, we're all leading ourselves, leading our communities, leading our collective and our businesses. We are the light leaders of our life. And if you read my posts, you'll understand that I am not here to overshine on you or outshine you. I'm here to show you that you are just as much of a light leader as I am. We are collective together. You rise, I rise, we all rise. And so in my business, I have had to come to terms and understand that so much compassion needs to be present for myself, for my business journey, and for my clients. I want to lead with the example of I've been in business for 8 years, and I've watched others in the same business realm for the same length of time. And at first, instead of meeting myself with compassion, there was so much comparison. Why are they here? Why do they grow? Why are they in this place? Right. And so for the first 5 years of my business, I've chosen to solely enter into partnerships and collaborations. I didn't do anything on my own because I didn't have the confidence. I didn't have the knowledge, right? I did have the knowledge, but I didn't have the confidence or the worth to step in and do it on my own. So for the first 5 years of my business, I had partnerships. And they were great. They taught me, I learned a lot, but they were not the most supportive partnerships. And so when those partnerships ended and crumbled, and I've been through 3 of them. So yes, I've been through quite a few to learn not to do it again and not to do it again. And yet I'm still human, so I'm still doing it again. And now I'm meeting myself with compassion. So I want you to hear this in my tone and my voice as I'm speaking with you. There's been so much judgment and comparison in my past that has not supported me, that has not led me to where I want to be and how I want to feel. So I've met it with compassion. And in these 3 partnerships in the first 5 years of my business really all came crumbling down because it wasn't supported internally. It was all external. And I have nothing to show for it because I can't use the trainings that I used in collaborations because it's underneath a completely different, legal LLC and legalities. And I can't show this and this and this for business. So really, I have nothing to show. I have nothing to prove. I have nothing to lead with besides my knowledge and my experience, but all of my trainings, all of my teachings, all of my hard work and energy that I've poured into business for the first 5 years are completely wiped out. And this has led me to major, major, major burnout and understanding if you do not stand on your own 2 feet right now, you will never stand on your own 2 feet. And bringing that hard love and compassion for myself of you need to do this, you can do this, and we're going to do this on our own, and overcoming that burnout. I'm really happy and proud to say, and no longer embarrassed to say, I'm actually really in my first 2 years of business because I'm on my own, because I'm doing it differently. I'm standing on my own 2 feet and I'm doing it from a place of pure love, compassion, understanding, and acceptance for who I am, where I'm at in my journey. And each and every day is either a struggle and in those or a blessing, right? And in those struggles are blessings, and in those blessings are just more evidence of what's for you. So meeting myself with compassion in all aspects of my life is what I really want to just shine through here on you. Is that compassion is an incredible catalyst for change. If you are serious about being really intentional, practicing over and over and over again, meeting yourself with compassion and actually really stopping yourselves in the tracks of that past comparison, the programming, the operating systems that you've been living in for such a long time, stopping ourselves in the tracks and choosing to meet ourselves with compassion instead. I love this topic. I've spoken on so many different summits about this topic because it truly is my second and deepest pillar inside of my own crystalline architectural design for how I live my life, how I move through challenges, and how I have led others to experiencing the same and moving through these challenges as well. One of my favorite stories that I love to share is we don't know what each other is really truly going through. We don't know what that person that just cut me off and then flipped me off on the road is going through. We don't know. We truly don't know. As intuitive and psychic and clairaudience and clairvoyance and whatever we are, we really, really don't know when it comes down to it. Because we are so multi-versatile, we are so multidimensional, we only can start to understand who we are and how we want to react and respond to the world around us. So my favorite story is I love to meet people with compassion in the most fun ways and have like this invoking curiosity around it. Like, how would I feel? How would I feel if I reacted or responded this way through compassion versus being, pissed off or upset or allowing their whatever they're going through to affect me. So as we're driving, this is my with my partner when we were first together, his headlights were super bright. And people would flash him and think that they're his brides, and he'd be like, "What the hell?" Like all the time, right? Like, and I'm like, why don't you choose to bless them instead? Because you don't, I mean, obviously, those lights are not fun for them to see inside of their mirrors, right? Why don't you choose to bless them instead? You have no control. You have no control of the brightness of your headlights. Choose to meet them with compassion versus matching their energy, right? When we say match each other's energies, well, why? Why are you cleaning dirty with dirty? Why not choose to purify and cleanse your own field and not let them allow you to penetrate or affect your field negatively? So instead of cursing someone out because they cut you off, bless them. Now we're bringing in higher frequencies and vibrations to our reality that we're living in, blessing them, each and every person around us. I've helped so many different people with the aspects of compassion, but really what it comes down to is having a full understanding that this is where they are and this is where you're at, and choosing to meet them from that place of neutrality, right? Of meeting them with compassion. So I have another really, really cool story. A client of mine was surrounded by really toxic environments. And she would go into this environment every day and she would just allow this. I call it the oil spill, where she's like this clean, bright, light energy. She's trying to do all the things. She's trying to stay pure and individualized in her energy. But she goes into this environment where she has to work, where she has to make a living, and the oil just spills over into her clean environment. And so, how we chose to meet each and every individual with compassion is we began to start reprogramming her subconscious mind. We began to start checking herself and the stories that she's created around her for these individuals. Instead of telling yourself in your head that person is blah, 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 we're now going to say, oh, okay, I understand that is where they're at in their life. That is what they're going through in their life. I have compassion for them, but I'm also not going to tolerate or accept that or allow it to spill into my clean, bright, light, energetic field. So, what I want you to take away from this is that no matter your surroundings, no matter how you've reacted and responded to the world around you, you get to choose two ways to meet them with compassion or go into that state of contempt, right? And so here are my key codes that I want to share with you. These key codes are incredibly important for you to start implementing in your life, or maybe even deepening and just kind of reflecting on where you're already doing this in your life. So these key codes are: one, we have to begin to reprogram your subconscious mind. Our subconscious mind creates 90% of our programming, how we move through life, what we think, what we feel. It's just on this autopilot. It's literally on autopilot. We don't have to think about brushing our teeth when we wake up in the morning. We just do it. We don't have to think about putting our seatbelt on when we get in the car. We just do it. These aren't things that we second guess, second think. What we do need to start intentionally, consciously connecting to is our programming and how we choose to react or respond to the world around us. And I love this because this is how easy. I'm going to say this right here, right now, and I'm going to pause for a second so that you understand this. Accessing different levels of consciousness is so incredibly easy for each and every individual to just grasp. Everyone, and I mean everyone, even people that aren't even on the spiritual path or the self-development or the soul growth journey, have the ability to access a different, higher, and more supportive level of consciousness to support them in their reality. It is so incredibly easy for each and every individual to access higher levels of consciousness. And I said that 3 times, 3 different ways, because I know there are people that hear it differently, that absorb it differently. But what I want you to know is it is so incredibly easy for each and every individual, no matter where you're at on life, to access a higher level of consciousness. And what this means is that it all begins with intention and awareness. And even on myself, I have to check myself. Am I still living? Am I still operating? Am I still running my programs in unconscious, just autopilot mode? Or am I choosing to make one choice, one change, one thought process different to totally ravel into a new reality, a new experience, and a new existence? This all starts with reprogramming our subconscious mind by practicing small phrases or thought mantras, or literally stopping ourselves in the track, no matter what we're doing, and saying, I want to be more aware, intentionally conscious about how I'm choosing to react or respond to this situation, to when people set me off, to when someone goes into a mode of attacking me. Do I feel defensive? How can I change my way that I'm feeling? How can I be more open, understanding, accepting, and just really think, okay, am I actually being attacked, or has this been an old programming, an old operating system that I'm still running because I haven't healed, I haven't worked through it? So let's talk in the realm of compassion. Let's talk in the realm of compassion for ourselves. When we look in the mirror and we start to judge ourselves right away, we stop and we have this moment of conscious awareness around how we're choosing to talk to ourselves, treat ourselves, and see ourselves. So instead, we begin to tune into ourselves. We begin to maybe say a different thought, maybe just say a different phrase, maybe even apologize, maybe bless that part of yourself instead of shaming that part of yourself, whether it be physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, whatever part of yourself that you look at in a real mirror or just in the mirror of your mind. And we can do this again for externally. the way that we perceive, experience, and choose to live in the world around us, the individuals we surround ourselves by, the way that we choose to drive down the road, whether it be driving defensively and getting upset, whether it be entering into a conversation from a place of conflict or curiosity. We start really intentionally choosing a different way of consciously having awareness and moving through life. So through this, as we begin to practice this, it's work, it's practice. This is not easy. If it was easy, anyone would be doing it. And that's why I say having compassion and truly living a life from compassion is not for the weak-minded or meek-hearted. We are not doormats. We are not people pleasers. We are not super rigid. But when we can meet each circumstance, no matter how conflicting or no matter how different that circumstance may be, and I can't find the word that I'm looking for right now, when we choose to meet it from a place of compassion and we choose to try reacting, responding, thinking a little differently, we can start becoming incredibly empowered by compassion. So I want to mention a few more things here, just so I can make sure that we are covering all the bases. I want you to try to challenge yourself to begin to curve conversations, thoughts, emotions, feelings with compassion versus seeing the rigidity in life. So I want to talk about boundaries here because a beautiful soul brought up boundaries yesterday. How do we give love and how do we set boundaries at the same time? And my answer is super, super simple. It may be a simple answer. It may be really complex to do because we don't know how to set boundaries or we're not used to practicing them, just like with compassion. When we set boundaries, it comes from a place of love. Giving love and setting boundaries are one and the same because when we set that boundary, it comes from the place of, I really, 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 really want to continue loving you and giving to you. But I also am going to have immense respect and immense love for myself. And so this is the meeting point that both the boundary that I set that respects me and the love that I give you that respects you comes together and are one and the same. So I want us to start talking and curving our life with compassion. When someone comes to you with an issue and you're not available for it because you don't have the space and emotional, mental, physical capacity for it, we're going to curve it with compassion. Instead of allowing yourself to just absorb all of their knowledge and now you're completely burnt out and drained and exhausted. And instead of saying, I'm not available for you, like, whatever, I can't do this right now, we're going to meet it with compassion. We're going to say, I understand you're going through something right now. However, I need a moment before I can truly, fully give you my time and attention. Wow, how different did that feel? I would love to hear from you if that felt a little different, a little more empowering, because we're meeting them from a place of compassion. We're not just immediately saying no, shutting the doors, having a rigidity, and we're not also being that doormat and being that people pleaser. We're meeting it in the middle. Someone decides that they want to act out a certain way and project all of their wounds and emotions onto you. You decide you are not available for that. That is not something you're available for. And thank you for sharing with me, but I'm going to have to stop you right there. I don't have the energetic capacity for this, and it's nothing against you. It feels a little differently, and I want you to play around with what that feels like for you, of curving the world with compassion versus seeing the rigidity in life, versus going into victim mode, going into defense mode, going into compare and compete mode. You're coming into compassion, understanding, love, acceptance. Do you see how this is raising the frequency and the vibration of what we are truly wanting to experience our life from. It is that easy. It's that easy. It's tough. It's that easy to say and that easy to wrap your mind around. But the implementation and the practice is where it becomes difficult at first, because what is unknown or what is not normal to us feels a little uncomfortable, and that's okay. We move through that uncomfortability together. This brings me into what I want you to take away from this training today. I want you to take away the key codes of how to build this crystalline architect for yourself. This pillar for yourself is 1, reprogramming your subconscious mind by practicing small phrases or thought mantras, just starting a new programming. Instead of someone, flipping you off because your headlights are too bright, you bless them with love and light. Instead of someone projecting all of their stuff onto you, you allow yourself to separate the two of them and not absorb and not receive what they're giving them. Instead of looking in the mirror and automatically condemning yourself and shaming yourself, you choose to meet yourself with love. You choose to think a little differently about it. So reprogramming your subconscious mind by practicing small phrases or thought mantras. Number 2 key code, tuning into yourself. Setting up regular reflections of growth. I'm tuning into me. How do I feel? How do I want to feel? What am I going to do to lead me into the feeling that I want to feel? Setting up that reflection for your growth. You have come so far. You are not who you were. You are here actually really listening to these 3 crystalline architect pillars for a reason, because you're not who you are. You're not who you currently are. You want to live an experience and create a life a little differently from a space that is more aligned with your soul self, your higher self, this higher dimensional reality that you can see, you can feel, and it's time for you to step into. So reflect on where you've come, how you've grown, and meet yourself from that place of reflecting and compassion. Holy crap, I'm actually amazing. Wow, I've actually done a lot. Okay, I've gone through trials and tribulations, but I know I can overcome this too. These are steps, these are ways of meeting yourself with compassion. And key code number 3 is compassion, grace, and gratitude all go hand in hand. So most naturally, there is nothing you need to do besides practice new ways, new thought processes, new understandings, curving it with compassion, and see how compassion, grace, and gratitude all come together to support you, to help lead you, to help guide you, and show you you are doing life differently. This is not the same old version of you that is stuck in not working and focusing on healing your wounds, but coming and learning and growing into that soul-led version of you. So here are my 3 takeaways for you as I leave you with this topic of how to empower yourself through compassion. My first takeaway and reflection for you to ask yourself and set up this pillar for yourself is, where have you been so hard on yourself? And how can you begin to curve that with compassion? What can you start to practice differently? My second reflection question for you to set up your pillar is, where have you been hard on others? And how can you begin to curve that with compassion? And my third takeaway for you to truly, truly, truly feel the empowered aspect of compassion is your compassion backed by boundaries? Or has it slid into being a people pleaser? And just being truly honest with yourself and coming from a place of non-judgment and not ashamed, but just asking, is your compassion backed by loving boundaries? Or has it slid into becoming or being a people pleaser? That is what I have for you today on compassion. If you have any questions, absolutely reach out, leave a comment, let me know. I would love to respond to you, go even deeper into designing and creating your crystalline architects. we have one more session inside of our last pillar, which is integrating the ego. Wow, what a different concept that is. It really is different because a lot of people up into this now, into this current timeline, have looked at the ego as something that is outside of us, separate, something that we should push aside, shut down, turn off, when really ego needs to be loved, healed, and integrated so that we can be whole and all of our aspects can be on board with what it is that we want to experience in life, how it is that we want to grow, and where we want to truly go and experience a new, different reality, consciousness, and lifestyle that is meant for us. So stay tuned for tomorrow for that. And one last thing coming up next, so that you know and you can be prepared for, is through October 22nd through November 8th, I think it is Ignite the Light Within. It is a 3-week intense deep dive into setting up your timeline to support you in these quantum growths and these quantum leaps through the rest of 2023. There is not too late. I always say, actually, I really love to say that my year actually starts now. It starts whenever I want it to start. It can start now. It can start, I always say in April when my birthday is. I always say my year starts when I want it to start. So my 2024 is starting now because this year is starting now. So what I want you to do and I want you to understand is you get to start now to jump and leap and experience and grow and expand into whatever it is that you want to experience. But we have to start somewhere. So Ignite the Light Within is 3 weeks deep diving into actually setting up your timeline to support you with what it is that you want to experience and expand into that lifestyle that you want to live. It is 3 weeks. It is deep diving. It is an incredibly low offer right now because I want everyone to experience it. I want people to, week 1, set up the now, the power of now, anchoring in a now, because you feel it, you know it, you hear it, you see it. Let's anchor in the now. I have more to share with you from that. But what I really want you to know and start thinking about is how can you begin to ignite that light within you right now? I would love for you to join me. There are 2 options. There is an option just to join the live classes like this. It will be a lot more interactive. It'll be via Zoom, so you can interact. We can personalize your Ignite the Light Within plan. And then there's another option to actually work with me one-on-one at an incredibly affordable offer, if you ask me, to work with me one-on-one each and every week for the next 3 weeks. And you get full access to the Ignite the Light Within group calls, the entire expansion calls, and our own personalized calls so that we can dive even deeper into you as an individual, as a soul, and as a being. So I will drop the link for Ignite the Light Within so that you have that. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow for integrating our ego and becoming whole with it so we can begin to experience all aspects, being on board, being one, being in partnership, and truly catapulting into the life that we want to live, that we get to live, and that we're worthy of living. I hope you all have such an amazing rest of your day, and I will see you for our 3rd and final pillar tomorrow.